And also, people are saying, yeah, Cinco de Mayo is falling on Taco Tuesday, another Americanized holiday. And I sat back, and it was years ago because like I have a lot of I had a lot of students from Mexico, and this was I believe it was either East High School or at Kaufman Scholars, and we were just talking about Cinco de Mayo. And I remember asking the student, I said, "Hey, it's Cinco de Mayo. What y'all gonna do today?" And they looked at me like I was crazy and said, "Man, that's we don't roll like that." And I said, "Oh," so we sat and had this real healthy discussion about that particular piece, and it opened my eyes to a lot of things. So what I want to do is I kind of want to go through and educate you, if you will, on Cinco de Mayo because what we think it is, it's really not what it truly is, or it's not perceived or accepted as it truly is. And of course, if I'm wrong or if I make a mistake, please comment and so we can correct. So I don't want to give anything false. Okay, so like I said earlier, Cinco de Mayo is a hugely popular holiday in the United States. Okay, to the point to where you see people go as far as dressing up as people from Mexico, and I got an issue with that too, but we'll talk about that later. So it's very popular. If you ask around, you may find out that everybody is not probably exactly sure why they're celebrating it or or where it came from. Some people might say, well, yeah, you might see it as variation of, well, I celebrate it because it's Taco Day, which is really inappropriate to say, or I celebrate it because it's a Mexican holiday, which may not be actually 100% factually true. So while most people know that it's a holiday rooted in Mexican history, there are a lot of misconceptions. The key word is a misconception. All right, it is a is a misconception. Now, the good thing about misconceptions is if you miss it, then you can catch it if someone throws it back to you. So no one is knocking you for having a misconception. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. So um, there is a celebration that we all think that Cinco de Mayo is Mexican Independence Day. For example, the United States of America Independence Day is July 4th. But in reality, there is an incredible history behind the holiday. Although the holiday is not celebrated the way that it's supposed to, there is an incredible history behind it. So, there are some traditions that are done that you may not be aware of. There are some traditions that are done that may be offensive that you're not aware of. So, we're going to, sit down, discuss, rap, see what's going on. Mr. Walker, you mind putting on a comment thing in case someone want to correct me on my history? Cause I got a good friend of mine that I work with as a history teacher, and I know if I make a mistake, he'd be the first one on. Yeah, because he was the one that cracked on me about having a full a beer. I said, man, look, we in the end game. Okay, so you said it's not showing me live. Oh, oh, okay, all right. So it says here that Cinco de Mayo marks Mexico gaining its independence, similar to the Independence Day in the United States of America. Thanks. Oh yeah, Ju- July 4th is like I said, United States, and then Cinco de Mayo is Spanish for May 5th. It supposedly celebrates the Mexican army's victory over France at the Battle of Puebla, May 5th, 1862. Yes, big day in Texas. And Mr. Antoine, yeah, you would notice that the farther the closer you are south of the border, you see a lot of influence and a lot of people trying to, I guess, roll with the culture. But keep in mind that Texas really is Mexican territory. I mean, it was Mexico. I mean, Mexico was so much bigger than what it was. Arizona, New Mexico, California, oh, Oregon and Washington too. All that, yeah. Vegas, Nevada. I mean, Mexico was huge, huge. So yeah, so we'll talk about that later. I we'll talk about that later on. As a matter of fact, California has a. I mean, why do you think Zorro was created? That was like their folk hero with the enslavement of Spain and the United States. But yeah, so anyway, first things first. Mexican Independence Day isn't until September. Um, while it does not celebrate a national victory, I'm sorry, while it does celebrate a national victory, Cinco de Mayo isn't Mexican independence. The actual Mexican Independence Day is celebrated on September 16th. So September 16th is the Mexican Independence Day. Cinco de Mayo is not Mexican Independence Day, but it is an important battle because during that battle, in the Battle of Puebla, in May 5th, 1862, they were fighting the French. 1800s. Um, you had a lot of your big weights in your heavyweights in that time period. Napoleon was there. Napoleon was a very very heavy general, and France was expanding out to conquer the world. You know, the French Empire. So you saw France trying to lay claim in certain areas. They were trying to kind of replicate what Spain was doing. And think about it though. You know, like if you got a kid that has a basketball court in their yard and you want to play on that basketball court and you feel that you're bigger than that kid, what you gonna do? You're gonna go try to play in that kid's basketball court. So France was trying to do that because they were a superpower back then, around that time period. I mean, so, and of course, Mexico was, recently, their own country, standing on their own 2 feet. And they figured, oh, okay, I'm gonna pick on the little guy sitting over there. So the Battle of Puebla was a part of the Franco-American War. I'm sorry, the Franco-Mexican War. One of the reasons it's so significant is because the French army was such larger and more prepared than the Mexican army. Kind of sounds like when France tried to go to eat. They had all the guns, they had all the expendable bodies, but French still lost. They still lost, and but the French still lost the battle to Mexico, though they did eventually win the war. So that particular battle was lost. And some people think, well, the war was won, but still, sometimes there are some strong, significant battles. I mean, you can still win a war, but because you lost a few significant battles, you still got damage. Like for example, if Mr. Walker and I got in a fight right now, all right, and he won, he won the fight. But Mr. Walker goes to the doctor and he got a broken arm and a busted nose. Well, yeah, he got some battle damage. All right. Napoleon III had a very specific interest in taking over Puebla. So, for example, I know that I said Napoleon III. There's a line of military masterminds with that name. So, we're saying that this version of Napoleon, this Napoleon III, wanted to turn the Puebla area into a base that would help the Confederate Army during the American Civil War. As you can see, the United States is getting involved in this. So, The Confederates did, in fact, during the Civil War, reach out to other countries to help them out. Because, I mean, think about it. If you got the North or the Union freeing slaves to fight with them, then you got all these people that you just got through freeing to help you out. So they reached out to the French, and that's one particular story that you may not hear, because I don't care what anybody says, the Confederacy is still strong in this country, and the Confederacy is it's like an anti-hero. They try to make the Confederacy seem like an anti-hero and not an actual true villain. So really, to be quite honest, if it's an anti-hero, they're not gonna really go real deep and go hard on the negative things that they do. So, and also they're not gonna show any weakness. Sometimes when you reach out for help, it does. Some people do perceive that as a sign of weakness. So the Confederate soldiers reached out to the French to help them out, and Napoleon III wanted to take over Puebla because it was, in that area, and make it a base for the Confederate soldiers. Now, if that would have happened, if that would have succeeded, the Civil War would have had a very different outcome. So imagine, and I know sometimes history can be kind of boring, but it's very fascinating. Think about that. If the Confederacy was helped out by Napoleon III and the French, and they won the Battle of Puebla, and that base was set in Puebla. All right, doing good on time. The Battle of Puebla didn't win the war for Mexico. It did not. Despite winning the battle, Mexico still fell under French control for 5 years. Okay, it's 5 years. However, that battle was very significant. Emperor Maximilian of Austria was put in charge. So, note, I said France was a superpower. They put an Austrian emperor in charge of Mexico for 5 years. So kind of think about that. So already what we're celebrating so far, what I've been saying is not a full variation of why we actually celebrate it. So far we understood that Cinco de Mayo was not Mexican independence. It was a very significant battle that the Mexicans did win. And as a matter of fact, the win that the Mexicans had was a definite win for the United States, because it really turned the tide of the Civil War. It really gave a crushing blow to the Confederacy. And then on top of that, we're starting to realize that now the French have won. Since they won the war, they're now getting other countries involved too. All right. Now, the Mexican president, Benito Juarez, made it a holiday. The anniversary, now note, it was made a holiday. I'm going to tell you what the name of the holiday is. The anniversary of the Battle of Puebla was declared a national holiday, or the Battle of Cinco de Mayo, by President Benito Juarez on May 9th, 1862. So that's where, as you can see, when I said the bastardation, it was called, the Battle of, the Battle of Puebla Day, or the Battle of Cinco de Mayo. So what did the United States do? We just took the name and said Cinco de Mayo. Just because they won the battle, we thought it was their Independence Day. So, however, it's no longer considered a national holiday in Mexico. So Cinco de Mayo is not even considered a holiday in Mexico. It's not. At one time it was, but it celebrated the battle that took place, but it's no longer seen as a holiday in Mexico. It's not. So don't be surprised if, some of your brothers and sisters who are from Mexico or countries that are relative in that area, they don't celebrate it. I mean, that's why. See, we all assume that just because somebody is what we think they are would be to sway from the actual lesson that's being sent your way. All right, now you're trying to figure out. Okay, Tyrone, you're saying that Cinco de Mayo was not. Well, it was a Mexican holiday. Well, how did it become a holiday in the United States of America? What brought Cinco de Mayo here? Was it the Civil War thing? What? How? Did the Austrians bring it here? How did it get here? Well, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, or FDR, he helped bring Cinco de Mayo to the United States, or the celebration to the United States. The holiday started to be celebrated in the United States after President Roosevelt created the Good Neighbor policy in 1933 to improve relations with Latin American countries. Now, right there, I want you to see what I just said. It's okay to have a good neighbor policy, but he said with Latin American countries. Last time I checked, the Battle of Cinco de Mayo, or the Battle of Puebla, took place in Puebla, Mexico. It didn't happen anywhere else. So right now we're trying to lump everyone together and say, you know what? We're gonna make this holiday to celebrate all of Latin America. That was the plan. That's like saying, I remember at one time we had a African curriculum, and they were teaching the kids Swahili, and I think that's a great language. However, they tried to make all of us. I went home and I was like, yeah, they're teaching us Swahili, the language of Africa. No, Swahili is not the language of Africa. It's one language in Africa. There are many languages, but it's not the only language. For example, Cinco de Mayo does not span over every Latin American country. So when he tried to bring it over here, that was his attempt. That was FDR's attempt for a policy to have good relationships or good relations with Mexico. Now, if you really look at this, 1933, there's a war that was taking place, shortly after. So, World War I took place in the 19 teens? And World War II took place in the 1930s. Now, the United States got involved in World War I by this one particular reason. The Axis powers sent a letter to Mexico, and they wanted Mexico to invade the United States. I mean, what better way, having someone come in from the back door to invade? However, the United States intercepted that, and they saw the letter, and that's when we got involved. And a very cool story comes out of this, because the United States realized that, hey, we kind of got to watch how we speak, because the Germans know a lot of languages. So that's when you have the Navajo code talkers, or the Navajo wind talkers. They took a lot of Navajo, or really, to be quite honest, we learned that the term Navajo is a disrespectful term, or inappropriate. Well, it's not a good term. I think they call it denies. I want to say denies. I had a guest on the show that educated us on that. But anyway, that particular tribe, they enlisted them in World War I, and they were the ones that were sending all the messages and codes, because we knew that they couldn't understand that particular language. So, we're saying that FDR wanted to make sure that everything was cool with Latin America, or with Mexico. So next time something like that happens, hey, if someone tries to get you to invade us, you won't do it. So little secret right there. So that's why the good probably one reason why the good neighbor policy popped up. I mean, of course, you want to have a good neighbor policy also with your next door neighbor. So something happens, they got you back. All right. Now, Cinco de Mayo has been a tradition in California for a long time. Now, California, I like California. I've never been, but California has a very, very rich history. One of my favorite characters growing up was Zorro. Love Zorro, man. I walk around the house thinking I was Zorro, putting Z's on everything, and I watched almost every variation of a Zorro movie. I mean, I thought Zorro was the man. Well, he is the man. I mean, he stood for a lot of good stuff. And little rabbit trail. If for all my comic book fans out there, I know I got some, and I should call you out by name. But there's a comic book that you all have to get. It's Django and Zorro team up. So in the comic book, Django was masquerading as Zorro, and he was wearing them out. So from what I'm hearing, Hollywood is talking about doing a movie about that. So can you imagine? You got Django who stood up for black folks, and then you got Zorro who stood up for my Mexican brothers and sisters. Man, that's gonna be a heck of a movie right there. I'm gonna have to check that out. But yeah, but definitely though, get that comic book because I mean it was cold blooded. Sound like my daddy talking about this cold blooded. Somewhere down in Texas, he's sitting back smiling for some reason. All right, so in 1863, the Mexican miners in the town of Columbia broke into a celebration when they received news that people were resisting French occupancy back home. Now, back home in Mexico, yeah, they had French occupancy. In California, which I mean, it still was, in my opinion, Mexico. I mean, it was one of the last places to fall. But the Mexicans, they had occupancy from the Spaniards and United States. So of the Battle of Cinco de Mayo in California. I see you, Mr. Antoine, cold blooded like Rick James. All right. So as you can see, the liberation of their brothers and sisters gave them inspiration, and I want to say that the story of Zorro was derived from that. Because from a long time, for a while, I actually thought Zorro was a real person. However, the concept of Zorro was, and it was derived from their hope and celebration of Cinco de Mayo. See, when you connect the dots, you go through Easy Street, and eventually it'll put you on Wall Street. All right, here we go. I kind of messed that quote up. In fact, the largest Cinco de Mayo celebration is in Los Angeles. So if you really, and like I said, I'm not knocking anybody for celebrating Cinco de Mayo. I'm just saying, just be respectful when you do it. But if you want the biggest Cinco de Mayo celebration, it's in LA. So they're probably up there kicking it right now. Because I think California is opening up this week too. They're one of the states opening, so they're probably already getting ready. So it's like Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday is biggest in Atlanta, and second is biggest in Kansas City. Mardi Gras, biggest in Louisiana, and I want to say somewhere in Mississippi. I think. Never been to Mardi Gras. Yeah, I want to go. But so, with huge celebrations like Fiesta Broadway and Cinco de Mayo at Olivera Street, California is known for massive Cinco de Mayo celebrations. And I guarantee you that their Cinco de Mayo, just like earlier today, Mr. Walker and I was talking about Greek mythology, and we were talking about how the stories are different. So if you look at the entire continent, the entire country of Greece, the same story in the northern part of Greece is probably different than the southern part of Greece. Just like Cinco de Mayo, for the most part, is celebrated by people who are American Anglo descent. However, in California and LA, you might see more people who are of Mexican descent celebrating it based on what we discussed earlier in regards to saying that they started to celebrate it based on the good news that they got from the Cinco de Mayo victory. If that makes sense. I know I'm saying a lot. If I need to slow down, let me know. So, if you want to, so I'm assuming that if you want an authentic celebration, then LA might be the place where you want to go for Cinco de Mayo. Because you'll actually probably be celebrating the victory down in Pueblo. Okay. It has a place in American history. Well, I don't know about that. Because if Cinco de Mayo had, well, I take that back. It does have a place in American history. But if it had a true place in history, then you would hear the true or the closest variation to the truth possible of this story. So, throughout the 1960s and 70s, Cinco de Mayo became closely associated with the Chicano rights movement in the United States. Now, during the 60s and 70s, what else did you see? You saw the civil rights movement with black people, or people of African descent. So with saying that, you have black empowerment and brown empowerment going around the same time. So, you got Juneteenth, Cinco de Mayo. So during that time period, during the 60s and 70s, it was implemented in the struggle that our brown brothers and sisters were trying to attain from this country. At the same time that our black brothers and sisters were trying to get at that same time as well. All right, so let's see. No Dallas, Texas. Oh, so hold on, Mr. Antoine. So you're saying that Dallas, Texas has a good Cinco de Mayo celebration as well? Is it authentic? Go ahead and comment on there so I can read your comment. Got a Dallas Cowboys #1 fan, Joseph Antoine, on here. All right. Let's see Dallas. So as soon as he pops, responds back, we'll see if Dallas has a good celebration also, which I'm sure they might. Okay. Oh wow. This is a good one. Oh, okay, yeah, sort of. Okay, so yeah, so Dallas is a pretty good one too. All right, it was recognized as a national holiday in the United States. States in 2005. So the Mayo, that the one that we celebrate, is really a of the Bulls. Man, when I moved over to Spain, I That's the first thing I said. I said, hey, hey, I'm gonna run with those bulls. They say, man, you crazy. It's a breed of dogs native to Mexico. So when Washington D.C. they released cheap. Hold on for a hot second. Mariachi music was created in Mexico and dates back to the 19th century. So mariachi originated as a revolutionary style music. We're gonna tell you the story of. Um, There's a movie, and man, I'm telling you, this movie. So, when you see in Cinco de Mayo celebrations, mariachi music, they're more than likely singing about the victory in Puebla. Oh, he sat right there on Puebla. The Confederate soldiers could have went up and down the Gulf of Mexico. They had that whole reign. That would have been a brilliant military strategy. Yeah, yeah. Texas is right there. Yep. They could have went right up there to the, yeah, right on the Gulf Coast. Wow. So as you can see, we're going back and talk about some more things. But but what I want to say about the whole Chihuahua thing, Chihuahua is like up here, Puebla is down here. So what the Chihuahua has to do with Puebla, I don't know. I mean, they're not close in proximity. So if someone can explain why the Chihuahua dog is running through Mexico, I'm sorry, running through Washington D.C. on Cinco de Mayo? Explain that to us because I'm like Marvin Gaye. I want to know what's going on. is think about some of those old spaghetti westerns. Take of the Pueblo style dress of the mariachi. Style dress for men. Okay. Traditionally eaten in the town of Puebla. In that. And the fact that you try to school this kid, on his plight discriminated against. So that's like, for example, we like Taco meal. Mr. Antoine. Okay, now Yeah, yeah, you're right. Taco Bell is really beef, but from what I heard, it's grade F. When you actually sit and talk with someone, you will see a lot of similarities. If you're gonna celebrate, less. We'll see you all next week. Because in the Inkwell, education overflows like ink. And just like ink, it stains permanent. See you next week.